Word
Hi,
Insights.
welcome to Word Insights. Thank God. I pray and I hope sincerely that this will be the conclusive part of the same topic we have been on for some weeks now. You know, the same topic, God's timing, and we are discussing the last character, Joseph. So, like I was saying in the last video, Joseph was a very unique person. He had a stainless reputation. Stainless reputation. I cannot see anywhere in the Bible where he was not righteous and faithful in his dealings with men and in his dealing with God. He was always faithful and he had the best reports anyone could ever hope to have. And yet, despite his ability to stay strong, despite his striving to remain steadfast and faithful, he was still faced with a lot of challenges. You understand? He was faced with so much challenges that an ordinary person would have given up, if not that he is strong and well drilled. He knew the God he was serving. You know, it is one thing to know God by listening to other people talk about him. It is another thing to actually know God because you have invested the time in that relationship to really get to know him. That's the kind of relationship that Joseph had, just like David as well. He was invested in the relation. They were invested in the relationship, in their relationship with God. So he knew God for himself, not because he had been taught by his father. No, he knew God for himself. So he understood who God was, and he built himself up and he made sure that he was able to embody the integrity of the same God that he was serving. That's the kind of person that Joseph was. You understand? And yet he was faced with a lot of challenges. Was God unfaithful to put him through so much, despite the fact that he was faithful? Of course not. But like I said, when I was talking about David, there are challenges that you must go through because they are processes for you. They are like your own wilderness experience. In one of my videos, I was talking, yes, in the same this God's timing, I was talking about Adam. Yes, in the first episode, I was talking about Adam, that he had the time. The Garden of Eden was supposed to be his school where he was supposed to learn the basics about life. But he failed because he was too in haste to get out. So in the same way, these people Joseph did not know that he was going to be a prime minister. Although he had a dream, but he could not have interpreted it to mean that. You understand? And for him to be a prime minister of the world power then, Egypt was the world power then. For him to be the prime minister of the world power then, second in command to King Pharaoh. And he had no prior understanding of how to handle state matters. He had not been trained. He did not go to any school. Today now we have different schools and where you can apply for different courses to learn things about things. We have courses whereby they will teach you about politics. They will teach you about state matters. There was nothing like that in their days. So God had to ensure that he was well trained so that by the time he became that prime minister, he would not disappoint God. So all those periods that he was going through all those places, and you will see from the people he was learning from. Firstly, it was Potiphar. He was a man. He was a rich man, and a man of status as well. And he learned, and he worked himself to the point where he was the leader, the supervisor of all the servants in the house. Potiphar was confident in putting everything in his care. That is what you call a man of integrity. Someone that you can put your company, everything that you have in their care, and you know that they are going to make you money. They are going to do right by you without batting an eye. That's the kind of trust that Potiphar had in Joseph. The kind of um, traits that he exhibited. He was a man of integrity, a man of uprightness. He was just, he was honest, and he was very, very hardworking. That's the kind of person he was. And yet, he still had to experience another setback. Perhaps maybe God thought, or maybe God felt that he was getting comfortable in that life. You see, to Joseph, he probably would have thought, this is the life that I've always wanted. I am the supervisor of all the servants. But he forgot one thing, that even though he was the servant, he was the supervisor of all the servants, the fact was that he was still a servant. And that's not where God was taking him. God had a bigger plan for him. He wasn't supposed to be a servant. He was not supposed to be serving other people. He was supposed to be an elder statesman, someone that will be controlling the economy of the world power then. That was where God was taking him. But perhaps maybe he felt comfortable in Potiphar's house because he thought he had arrived. I'm living in a rich man's house. I have everything I've ever wanted. Potiphar dressed him in the finest clothes. But the fact remains that if he was being introduced to people, he was still a servant. That tag was on him until what happened to him happened to him. And then the wife of Potiphar wanted him to have, carnal knowledge of her. Or because of his integrity. If it was some other people that are desperate to hold on to their position, some people can be so desperate to hold on to their position, thinking it was the best that they could ever have. I always tell people, why are you so quick in trying to accept where you are and just hold on to that position? Why? You don't know what God has planned for you. And the fact that you got there, do you think it is by your power? Then why are you trying so hard to hold on to that position? You don't want to lose it. So you will do everything you can to hold on to it, including sleeping with your boss's wife. A lot of people would have ever considered it an honor that their boss's wife was trying to have an amorous relationship with them. And they would have thought maybe they could do such a thing and get away with it. But that's not the case with Joseph. He said to himself, I cannot do this and sin against God. He was not thinking about himself. He was thinking about his God. Because he knew God would be disappointed in him. And despite the fact that he was comfortable with where he was at that particular time, he still recognized that it was a sin against God. And he chose not to do it. And then the wife became embarrassed and dishonored, and she decided to frame him. And what happened. And I'm sure that Joseph would have been like, again. He did not expect to end up in prison. At most, he would have expected maybe the boss, Potiphar, would have just sent him away. Get out of my house, I don't want to see you anymore. Or maybe punished him in some other way. But Potiphar sent him to the prison. And he got there, he didn't know how he was going to survive. He didn't know how long he would stay in that prison. Potiphar sent him to prison and forgot him there. He forgot him there. Let him rot in jail. That was his plan. He had forgotten all the years of service, selfless service and dedication and honesty. He forgot it in a split second. And sent him to rot in jail, in prison. But God is faithful. Who had a bigger plan for him? And he met other people there. While he was in prison, the guard, the warden, they still loved him because of the kind of person he was. Because of the kind of character that he displayed. He was upright, he stood out amongst all the prisoners. And they loved him for it. And when the opportunity came and presented itself, he took it with both his hands. And God be glorified. I'll stop for now here. God bless you. Bye-bye.